experiencing God's will is often a struggle. I wish I could give you 3 quick poems or 3 quick points, and that you would get it and your life would be perfect, and you would walk out of here going, man, I'm fixed. I'm fixed. I'm all done. I'm okay now. Thanks, Pastor, for fixing me. The reality is, it doesn't work like that, and you and I need to understand that. Sometimes we don't have the full picture, and that's why it's a struggle, because we're only looking at a partial piece of the canvas that God is trying to work out in our lives. And experiencing God's will is sometimes a difficult thing to get your head around and your hand on, especially when there is suffering involved, both in your life and in the lives of people that we love. Now remember, the oldest book in the Bible, most theologians believe, is Job. Probably because of the human condition of our own suffering. And as you know, Job went through a lot of suffering. His wife was such a godly encouragement to him. You remember that? She just says, Job, you're so bad off, why don't you just curse God and die? Oh, man. Lord, save us from Mrs. Jobs, you know. But the reality was, Job had to go through. Not around, but through the middle of that suffering. And by the way, though God would restore his fortune, restore his health, he never even got the answer until eternity for why. But boy, God did use his life and continues to use his life to those of us who are trying to walk with God but are going through some difficult times. And you may be going through a difficult time right now. Maybe it's physically, maybe it's financially, maybe it's with your kids, maybe it's with your family, maybe it's with your profession, and you are trying to figure it out. You don't seem to have your hand on it, and when you think you grab hold of it, it seems like it's sand, and it goes right through your hands. Let me just remind you that experiencing God's will is sometimes a struggle. Remember what Jesus went through in the Garden of Gethsemane as he prayed in Luke 22:42. Father, if you're willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done. Surrendering to the ultimate will of God is a struggle, especially when you had other plans for your life, especially when you wanted God to bless you big time, and you wanted your life to be a shining beacon of blessing so that everybody could see, boy, you serve God, good stuff happens. Sometimes it doesn't happen like that. And the reality is people need to see in your life what God is doing through the bad times too. And that helps us understand that we need to make sure we're always aligning and submissive to the will of God, regardless of what that may be as one of his children. Let me remind you of what James 4:15 says. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. In other words, that mentality is saying, Lord, I'm going to align with whatever you give me. And wherever you place me, I'm going to bloom. And God, whatever you have for me, even if it's a struggle during a certain season of my life, I'm going to make it all the way through because I know that your hand is on me. And wherever I am, there you are. And you're going to help me see it through. Help me just sort it out. How I love Philippians chapter 2, verse 12 that says this. Listen to this. Therefore, my dear friends, as you have always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now much more in my absence, listen to this, continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Let me make it very clear to you, you don't work for your salvation. That's what God does. However, it is in experiencing the will of God, you're learning to sort it out and work out through your life what God has placed in your life. Got that? In other words, there are going to be some times in your life you're just going to have to sort it out. And it may be a real struggle, but God wants you to go through that struggle to allow Him to produce in you what He wants to come out of you. I wish that was easier than just saying it, but it's not. You and I are, again, not working for our salvation, but because we are the children of God, we're going to have to trust God to work it out in us. You know what? That's what God's probably trying to do in the lives of your children. And they're trying to sort some things out. And remember, regardless of where they are, the story is not over in their lives. Just like it's not over in your life. Don't ever give up, and understand nothing is more important than allowing God to show Himself strong as you struggle through whatever you're going through right now.